Let me run through a field in the night. Let me lift from the ground till my soul is in flight. Let me sway like the shade of a tree. Let me swirl in a cloud in a storm on the sea. Wish me on my way through the dawning day. I wanna roll, wanna rise, wanna spill, wanna grow and grow on the side of a hill. I don't care if the train runs late, if the checks don't clear, if the house blows down. I'll be off where the weeds run wild, where the seeds fall far from this earthbound town, and I'll start to soar. Watch me rain till I pour. I'll catch a ship that'll sail me astray, get caught in a wind I just have to obey, till I'm flying away. Let me leave behind all the clouds in my mind. I wanna wake without wondering why, finding myself in a burst for the sky. Watch me lose all control. I wanna float like a wish in a well, free as the sound of the sea in a shell. I don't know, but maybe I'm just a fool. I should stick to the ground. I should stay where I'm at. Maybe everyone has hunger like this, and the hunger won't last, but I can't think like that. All I know is somewhere in the distance there's a flickering of sunlight on a river long and wide, and I have such a river inside. Let me run through a field in the night. Let me lift from the ground till my soul is in flight. Let me sway like the shade of a tree. Let me swirl like a cloud in a storm on the sea. Wish me on my way through the dawning day. I wanna flow, wanna rise, wanna spill, wanna grow on the side of a hill. Wanna shift like a wave rolling on, wanna drift from the path I've been traveling on. Before I am gone.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. That was my dear friend Tessa Bell, who's going to be on here any moment now. But I always begin my shows by asking who or what are you celebrating, and how can I celebrate you? I believe that every day is worth celebrating when and if we take the time to do it. And there's so much craziness in the world right now that we need to find these little moments of celebration. Today we're going to be talking about legacy. Legacy in our art, the work that we do, why we do what we do, and how we want it to resonate with our audiences. And I can assure you that everybody who is on this show is succeeding in that department. I am always reminded of my mentor in South Carolina, where I grew up, Miss Florence Theodora Epps. She had a little playhouse in her backyard. I've talked about this before. But I used to go to her home every Wednesday and Thursday for elocution lessons and for acting lessons. And then we would read books from the classics. We would read autobiographies, biographies. There was a big nostalgia craze going on at that time. So there were a lot of books that were handy. And if I did not know a name or know what a certain person was known for, she would close the book and she would say, I will see you next Wednesday, know who they are. And she instilled in me that every time I step in front of a camera, every time I step on stage, that I am carrying the mantle, the legacy of all of these artists that have gone before me. And I still believe that every single time I come in front of a camera or I go before an audience. And I'm excited that 5 favorite people of mine are all going to be on this show today to talk about their own views on legacy. And I'm going to begin by bringing on Tessa Bell, since we began with her. Tessa and I have known each other. How long have we known each other?
Forever.
Forever. Longer than some lifetimes. We've known each other a long, long time, and I am honored, and I celebrate you every day that you're in my life. We've spent time together in California, just incredible times. But before we jump into today, I want to ask you, who or what are you celebrating today?
Oh my. You know, I have to say I am celebrating that I am turning 70 in 3 months.
Wow.
I really celebrate
Wow.
because if I don't celebrate it, I immediately go, meow, because we live in a youth-oriented culture. So I'm celebrating. I'm looking forward to turning 70. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because I'm going to be turning 65. I'm right behind you. But are you feeling the culture around you as you are approaching that number? Because it's something that's really swirling around me. I feel like 24/7 I'm thinking about it.
You know, I have moments, but I left New York City in 2008 in
Oh,
part because I was turning, I don't know, 55 or something, and in New York I felt like I can't be who I am. I'm supposed to like suddenly dress like an old lady at 55. And I came
oh,
out to California because in part, you know, all the hippy dippy woo woo, you know, the dangling earrings and the dresses, the flowing dresses, and I was allowed to, I felt more comfortable dressing youthfully in Los Angeles with all the sunshine and the beaches, et cetera, et cetera. And I still feel that. But what I, for sure, this industry is not interested in, meaning the film and television industry, not at all interested in age at all. Certainly not female age. It's really, really, it's a very, very tiny little place where, and I'm a member of Greenlight Women, which is an organization that specifically tries to help other women in our age range. And that I find very useful because I really do a lot of mentoring and a lot of writing workshops with other women that I run and getting their works up on the stage. Now the stage, God bless the stage, right? God bless
hmm
the stage. It's inexpensive. You can get there. You can find an audience, and especially after COVID, I really started to find. But I think New York has a different ageism problem, and it's much more. Yeah, it's really if you yeah New York is.
Where do you think that that stems from? I mean,
Mm,
I've heard theories that it's based on mortality, that people,
yeah.
the aging process scares some people.
Oh
But
yeah.
when I look at someone, I went to see Jane Schechter last night, night before
Ah,
last, and she's about to turn 80,
Jane.
and 81 actually,
Yeah,
and she is sounding better than ever. And
yeah.
I'm not giving away age; she says it. Um, and then Marilyn May at 97, and I believe that as cabaret artists, it's a lot easier for us to do this. Years ago, I interviewed Carol Lawrence,
Mm,
and she said, "Being, excuse me, being in the, I'm choked up about it. Being in this business is the greatest elixir in the world. The more we get, the more we want. The
mm,
rub, however, is whether or not the buying public is going to buy it. I want to bring our next guest in a moment. You're going to stick around with us. But you brought up the word mentor, and that you do mentoring yourself. What, I'm dealing with allergies, so bear with me. What is one concrete practice that you use to pass the torch that our listeners, our viewers, could adapt tomorrow? What is it, something that you want to pass the torch with?
Well, if I understand the question correctly, one of the things that I do kind of regularly is I'll read the screenplays of other writers and help them identify where the market for that is. And in order, because I find a lot of times artists, myself included, don't have fabulous stories and have fabulous songs and fabulous shows, but don't really know where the market is. And I believe there's a market for every creation. So sometimes I will really help people identify, okay, this is not a horror movie, so you're not going to be, this is a young teen romance, you know, and try to help people identify where they can find the people that story's meant for, right? Regardless of age. I don't think age ever factors into story in the sense of every show, every cabaret show that I've ever been to or put on myself has an audience, and maybe it's only an audience of 20, but that's the beauty of cabaret, is that we don't have to spend, $3 million making the bloody thing.
Well, show me how to do that. I do want to bring on our next guest. Speaking of stories, she has an amazing story, and her story is still unfolding. That's my dear friend, Donna Hayes, and I'm going to bring her on right now, and I'm going to get this out of the way so we can see her. Donna, welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Donna, you can carry the torch a little further by speaking about what Tessa and I were just talking about. Or you can take us in a completely different direction if you want to. The stage is yours.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I personally am celebrating is I worked in the financial service industry for almost 40 years, like 37 years. And about 3 years ago, I left the financial services industry and I wrote a book. And it was my memoir, and it won a few awards. And from that, I was able to build a platform where I speak with individuals who may have dealt with some really abysmal situations like myself. And I'm able to use that to show people how setbacks can really be a stepping stone to a major comeback. And that is really what I am celebrating. And I love the fact that I have had the opportunity to meet with many, many individuals who my book and my story resonated with them. And I was able to use that to encourage, and I continue to do that even as I try to build a keynote business. So I love the fact that I no longer go into an office every day, but I can really rely on my art, whether I'm singing. I just released my first single. I have my book. I'm an ICF certified coach. And of course, I have my book. So I'm celebrating.
Well, there's one aspect that you did not even bring up, but you are also a marathon runner. And you have done very well in that department as well.
Yes, I completed I ran a marathon once. It was very humbling, and I did a lot of training and whatnot. It was in 2014, and it was so humbling because even though you've trained 26.2 miles, it's 22.6 miles, especially when I had to run a block from my apartment, and all I wanted to do was just run there and get on the couch. And I kept going, and I met so many amazing people. And when I crossed that finish line and someone put a medal around my neck to say that I finished a marathon, just goes to show you it's all a mindset, and you can do it. And that year, I think the year prior to that, a woman finished a marathon and she was 92.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
So
being in this business is running a marathon,
yes,
and I
it
know
is.
that both of you will. I mean, you know, and you do it, and you know,
Uh,
as you go along.
Yeah.
We're going to bring on our next guest in just a moment, but before we do, do you think about legacy, whether your own legacy or the legacy of those that have gone before you?
Mhm.
And what is one decision that you have made this year? I can't believe, first of all, that any second now, we're going to be delving into September.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
But what is one decision that you made this year that has favored your long term legacy over, let's say, a short term win? Because you've had many of those.
Sure. So, legacy to me is just the imprint that we're going to leave on the world and the lives we touch. And Beyonce has a song that says, I was here.
Mm-hmm.
When all is said and done, I want people to know that I was here because I made a difference. So, one of the things, it really ties into my book and building a keynote business. And I can, spread this message and go from city to city, or whether I'm signing books or whether I'm on a stage, to continue to show individuals that they're important and that they matter, irrespective of what they may have been told. And, one of the things that I want people to know is that a lot of times the way we show up in our lives is because of trauma and things that have happened in our childhood that follows us. And I've had just this amazing experience speaking with many individuals who have many aha moments. So I think it's building my keynote business where I can continue to share this message and hopefully inspire, encourage, and motivate individuals who need to hear that message.
Well, that's incredible. Well, speaking of legacy, our next guest not only celebrates her own legacy, but she is celebrating the legacy of a very dear friend of hers. And for my friends that are in London who are watching this, and I know some of you are because I've been reaching out, Goldie will be there a week from Monday night with her show that I've seen twice, and I love it. And it's called What a Man. Goldie Dver sings Anthony Newley, and they were very good friends. So I'd like to say to her, what a woman. So you are incredible, Goldie, and one of my dearest friends. Goldie, same thing. You can build upon what Tessa and Donna and I have spoken about, or you can take us in a direction that you want to go in.
Well, first, thank you for inviting me, Richard. I love doing these podcasts with you, and I always meet such interesting people. So, hello, girls. Hello, ladies. Sorry about that. Lovely to meet you. Yeah, I mean, I'm always a girl. Why not? And by the way, I am 70, turning 71 in October. So, jump in. The water's fine.
Okay.
And Danny, my husband, is 71. So
there you go.
That's great.
Yeah, so legacy, when you brought this up this was going to be the theme, I actually was thinking legacy does have a double meaning for me. And one of the major things that makes me happy about doing this Anthony Newley show is helping to keep his legacy alive. It's amazing. People of our generation will still know his name. And then you get a little younger, and especially the Gen Z and all. You mention his name, they don't have a clue. Some of them, if they're involved in the arts, especially musical theater, you start singing some of the songs, they'll say, oh yes, I know that song, and oh, he wrote that. And so the response that we have been getting from doing this show is that people who know him and love him just love the show. We tell a lot of stories about my personal friendship with him, that's why this show is so important to me as well. It's very personal. But the youngins really are turned on to somebody that they did not know. And even in London, I was surprised to hear that this same dynamic exists. So the people that weren't aware before are loving getting to know him, and we are keeping his legacy alive. And then, yes, go ahead.
I think that the unfortunate thing, yesterday, Danny and I were in the city, and we were crossing 18th Street to go to the east side. And I'm noticing everybody is walking, doing
Yeah.
this across the street. They are oblivious to their surroundings. They are oblivious to everything going on around them. And in today's world, I think that's dangerous. But I believe you talk about Anthony Newley. There are people that are in our culture today, people in our politics, people in the arts that today's generation don't even know about
Yes.
because they are living in a funnel. And so I've got a question to you before we bring on our next guest. We're going to have a roundtable discussion about all of this. But how do you reach that next generation? Do you have things in plan to help you carry not only Anthony Newley's legacy, but your own as well to that younger generation?
Um, yes. It makes me happy to see that there are more young people venturing into the cabarets these days. Um, Susie Mosier does her lineup every other Tuesday at Green Room 42, and she has a really wide range of people of all ages, and there are some incredibly talented young artists coming up who she gives exposure to. So I think that there are things going on in cabaret today that are helping to draw in a younger audience. With me personally, the music that I tend to do is more sort of, I would say people in their 40s on up would know the things, but I am trying to reach out on the socials, in the social media. And I do have a lovely young woman, Hannah Jane, who is helping me in that respect. I'm terrible on the social media thing, but that is the way people connect.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to do a more visibility on not only Facebook, which I finally sort of have the hang of, but now Instagram, which is a whole nother animal. But that is where the younger people are tending to congregate. So I'm trying that on a personal level. But I do have to say, as far as other personal legacy, I was invited to be on the board of the American Songbook Association. And you talk about legacy, their mission is to help keep the legacy of the American Songbook alive and vital, and get that younger generation to keep it going. And part of the reason I joined the board was I'm spearheading one of their outreach programs, which is to senior citizens, where we go in for, underserved facilities and memory care units and do shows for them. They also have a huge education outreach program where they go into the junior high and the high schools, especially the underserved ones, and they bring music to these schools. And it's not necessarily to create performers, it's to help these people understand the connection that music makes in their lives, and how exploring the arts, whether it's just for your own enjoyment, but not being like this, just checking the latest feed on whatever platform, but to expand their horizons. And so there's been wonderful things that's happening with the ASA, and that's why I was very eager to accept their invitation. And on a personal level, I feel that I am helping to extend my own legacy with the senior outreach program and anything I do in this capacity. As you were all saying, it's not just about us personally, it's about the art and what we share and what that gives and what that leaves. Because when we go, really the only thing we leave are the connections we made with people and the way we affected other people's lives. Because those will be the people who remember us, and memories are what keep people alive and legacies going.
Well said. Well said. Well, I do want to mention, since you bring them up, that they're going to be honoring Aronson Flaherty
Yes.
on, correct me if I'm wrong, October 6th?
Correct. At
That's
Merton
right.
Hall.
So, yes, and I'm hoping to be there as well. I'm going broke in this business.
Welcome to the club.
Yes, yes, but I want to bring on a gentleman who is a writer himself, has an extensive background on both sides of the fence, and I just love him. He has a great book called Brian Seth Hurst. That's him. Whole: Reconcile Your Past, Embrace Your Present, Create Your Future. He's the perfect person to bring on today about this topic. So, welcome to the show, Brian. And you're muted. Brian, you're muted.
You'd figure as a technologist I would know that by now.
Welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for having me. Just as a side note, I had to go and read everyone's bios that were going to be on today, and when I discovered that Goldie was from Philadelphia, I had to write her. It turns out we probably have much overlap.
Yes.
Both my parents were in show business. My father was on television and radio in Philadelphia for many, 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 many years. As a matter of fact, he was the #1 radio DJ in the late 50s, early 60s.
Yes, he
so
was.
Thank you, Richard, because Goldie and I will be traipsing down memory lane and hopefully making some future memories together.
May I just say, Brian, that as I told you in your email, your father, Ed Hurst, was so much a part of the fabric of my early childhood, both in Philly on radio and TV. And we spent summers down Atlantic City. So I made countless trips on rainy days to Steel Pier and knew your father. I didn't know him personally, but he was the major guy, the radio, TV guy. It was Ed Hurst.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Well, I was probably scooping ice cream when you were visiting Steel Pier because it was a family business.
I would,
but I actually, in the last time I was on with Richard, I returned to performing after well over 40 years because I kept running into Michael Orland, who was my musical director 40 years ago. And the end result of doing his open mics was a one-man show where I actually talk about growing up in that family. And I actually sing newly. I sing once in a lifetime because my mother absolutely loved him. I got to meet all these people. I didn't know who they were, and I didn't really care. I just wanted to go be with my friends. But it means so much more now. And my mother and I used to push back. My mother actually was a dancer, a DeMille dancer, and danced on Broadway in Oklahoma. Wow. And so I talk about all these things in the show, along with the work that I did as a grief counselor with people living with AIDS. It was kind of like a journey through my life. And I wanted to go back for a moment because this is what I'm celebrating.
Yes.
This is Taz, our brand new puppy. And also walking out of the house every day, I'm able to look up to the mountain and I see the area that burned, and the fire was stopped 1,000 feet from our house.
Wait a minute, you live?
Sierra Madre.
Oh, okay.
And so the people that I've stayed in touch with who we tried to help, who we are helping, just a profound impact of knowing what's important, really what matters in life. So I celebrate the fact that was a wake-up call, and that, as Donna has said, some of the best lessons and best opportunities can come out of the worst events. And actually, Donna, that's where Hold came from, because I had a show with Buna Murray, a reality show that was going to track millennials in the elections. And it crashed and burned not once, but twice. And afterwards, I was sitting in an airport in Moline, Illinois, and I said, what do I do now? And I heard, give us 30 days. At the end of 30 days, you will have a book, and the name of the book will be Whole. And so I basically took dictation for 30 days. As far as legacy, Richard, it took me years to land on what my purpose was, which is to connect and engage authentically and inspire. And if one person gets that out of my book, if one person gets that, I've been an intuitive now for well over 40 years. And I have people come back and tell me that one thing that was said was life-changing. And my intention is just, I don't preach. I say, this is me and this is what I would do, not we should do and all that. But if one person is touched by what I do and it affects them positively in some way, then that's my legacy. I've done my job. I have found that as the years go on, I'm less inclined to want to talk about myself. and I'm certainly less inclined to go to market. But I look at the reaction and talk to people after I do my show, and people come up and they say, well, that was so authentic. And I'm like, okay. And I was so inspired. And I'm like, okay, my purpose is to connect and engage authentically and inspire. I'm doing my job. And I
Well,
think
you know what's interesting about, I was thinking about legacy quite a bit, and there's a distinction between legacy and fame. And very often, if you're famous, you have a legacy which is attached to that fame. But then there's all the rest who live authentic, as you say, meaningful lives.
To me, I look at that as ego-driven versus purpose-driven.
Exactly. And I think legacy is a beautiful word for that, because it isn't fame. It's what am I giving to others, as you said.
You know, it's very interesting to have reached this age. I'm 69. I don't feel like 70 in any way. I'm part of a technological startup in Montreal, and you know, I'm not far from retired, but I don't feel the need to prove myself.
Yes.
I call it the burden of proof.
Wow, I love that.
It feels like it's been removed.
Yes.
And so when I go to do a show, I'm just there to share. I'm not even there to perform. I'm a storyteller, beginning, middle, and end. That's the story of my life. I've always written. I've been a writer for other people. I've been a songwriter for other people. Never really got to sing my own songs until the show. Songs I've written with Michael Orland and John Boswell and lots of other people that I never got to sing. And just to be able to stand there and just be is a relief. And then the other thing is, I've been doing these because I have a large mailing list and from the metaphysical side of my life. And I've been doing these Zoom gatherings that are called Cultivating Stillness in a World of Chaos. And the people that come on the call, I'm not preaching to them. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm providing a space where they can share what their methods are and how they are holding on to their soul and their spirit and their heart, regardless of what happens personally or professionally. So I think I'm just like showing up every day.
Well, speaking of showing up, I'm going to bring on our next guest because she's been waiting in the wings patiently, and I want to get her out here. And again, one of my favorite people in the cabaret world, her and her incredible husband, Michael, have your celebrating album is 10. Tell us about this show, first of all.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank
to the
you.
Show.
Thank you for bringing me into a room where I am the youngest person in it. This hardly ever happens to me anymore. But it's a. But this
enjoy
is
it.
I know. This is what I'm saying. It never happens. But this is a very youthful room. That's what I really like about it. I loved what everybody was saying about where we are. If you're looking at things in a linear fashion, is just so much less important the more you expand out in the fractal way that I think can happen once you go through the right door or doors, shall we say. The show that Michael and I are going to do, and I don't want to get too woo-woo because I want to talk about my show first. Then we can get woo-woo. Our show is October 12th. It's a Sunday night at 7 p.m. at the Laurie Beachman Theater, which is in the basement of the West Bank Cafe on West 42nd Street. Nice. And I know it's a little bit cut off there. But if you go to my website, michaelandmarty.com, it's right up there. And if you click on the poster, it takes you right to the place where you can buy tickets. We're talking about, well, let me talk about this show. Michael and I made a CD 10 years ago. And in some ways, it feels like we just did it. And man, in other ways, it feels like many lifetimes ago, doesn't it? 2015? 2015. It was 2 hair colors ago for me.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
And how many times have I lost and gained the same 10 pounds in those 10 years?
Please.
And yeah, we, at the time, we were working 5 nights a week in various places around the city, just performing for people in bars and restaurants that had like a, kind of a hip, wealthy clientele. We performed at Elaine's until it closed in 2011. We were performing in places like the Rainbow Room and Le Cirque and Sardi's and Bill's Food and Drink, which used to be called Bill's Gay 90s, and the Monkey Bar, these hip late night watering holes for the cognoscenti of New York. And it's just not happening anymore. I mean, the young people are staying out later. Yeah, some of the young people stay out late, but they're not staying out for live music. It's
Marty,
Spotify.
very quickly, I was just in Provincetown, and all of the restaurants are closing at 9:30 now.
I know. I was there in June
when we were just going out at 9:30 when I first went to Provincetown.
The only place you can get a bite to eat after you see a cabaret in Provincetown is Spiritus Pizza. Exactly. It's the only place that's open after 10 o'clock. Now, I like Spiritus Pizza, but if you're trying to lead a low carb lifestyle, you're really out of luck in P-Town. No. So we decided to do this 10th anniversary show. By the way, I have to name check my best friend, Sean Patrick Murtaugh, because he's the one that texted me and said, it's the 10th anniversary of your album. This is what's great about having a friend who is 18 years younger than you. My best friend is 18 years younger than me. I'm about to do a show in Boston on September 16th with Nicholas King, who is something like 25 years younger than me. Having friends who are in younger generations is a great way to stay in touch, to stay young, and I think it's part of the legacy that we can leave, because I had so many wonderful mentors as a young performer. When I was a kid, when I was 17 years old, I was doing leading roles in my local community theater, Towngate Theater in Wheeling, West Virginia. And in the summertime, we would do outdoor musicals in Ogle Bay Amphitheater. I got to play Marsina in Kismet with Michael Kermoyan as the poet. He was playing my father. And Michael Kermoyan, as some of you may know, was Yul Brynner's understudy in The King and I from the first performance in 1950, whatever it was 1952 or something, with Gertrude Lawrence. Michael Kermoyan was always the understudy, and he continued to understudy Yul Brynner until the end of Yul Brynner's life. So I'm 17 years old and doing a show with this guy playing my father. He was the most generous actor, the most generous scene partner, just about everything I know about stage comportment and about being a good colleague, especially, I learned from Michael Kermoyan that summer. Mm-hmm. And when I work with my younger friends, now I don't have to teach Nicholas King anything about being on stage.
No,
he's been opening for Liza Minnelli since he was like 7 years old, and that's not an exaggeration. But when we work with people of other generations, we do share. Even when we're just sharing stories, we are creating our legacy. I don't have kids. As Sondheim said in Sunday in the Park with George, children and art. I don't have a painting that people are going to be able to look at when I'm gone, but hopefully some people are going to have some good stories. I hope I've left some good stories. So our show in October, Michael and I looked back on our CD and we went, we are such different people now. I said, we don't have to do all of these songs, right? We can do some stuff that we're interested in now. Who we are has changed so much. So we're going to be doing some songs that were on the CD. And then we're going to be doing a lot of stuff from now. A lot of things from my Sondheim show, Sorry Grateful, which I did in 2024. I actually won a MAC award for that one in 2024. Thank you. So we'll be doing some stuff from that. And Michael plays at the Roxy Hotel in Tribeca 5 nights a week. And that is a piano only gig. And so in order to get the attention that he so deeply covets. He has found ways of playing solo piano that get him a lot of attention. He does these mashups. He mashes up. What's that Grateful Dead song, Ruby Begonia, with "I Could Have Danced All Night"? I mean, he's nuts. He mashes up "It Wasn't Me" by Shaggy with "People Will Say We're in Love." He's out of his mind. So we're going to be doing some of that. So did I cover everything that you talked about before I got here? I think I might have.
I think you have. Well, I want to go around with each of you, and I've got some questions about legacy and how that relates to each of us. But I want to say something, Marty, about both Sean and Nicholas. Both I love dearly. But they may be younger, but they are old souls, and they've got all of that going for them. I saw Nicholas King just a couple of weeks ago here in my own backyard, and just an amazing entertainer, just incredible. Tessa, I want to come back to you, and I want to ask you, when you hear legacy in your art, what do you hope people will still feel or know 10 years from now, and why?
Well, if you look at the one show that I keep coming back to, I grow and I redo the show and it changes. It's called Men, Money, Madness, and it's about men, money, madness, meaning that there's so many boxes that we put people and things into, and those boxes are what keep us from finding our true selves and expressing our love for each other. Rather, because there are boxes, it's us versus them, it's you versus me, and without hammering anybody over the head, I'm trying to get people to understand that we are all, this is holographic experience here. We're all connected through our art, through our love, through our genes, through our history, and I have something I think that since cabaret really comes out of a revolutionary movement against Victorian sort of mores, it has built within itself the ability, I think, to speak in a revolutionary way again. And I feel like because we spend so much time on phones, and because the younger generations don't have access to or don't have the experience of humanity in the same way that all of us have had in our past, which is such a blessing, I feel like there's going to be a resurgence of cabaret, both as a political means of expression and also as a way to connect to each other when you have to stay off of social media, because social media is not private. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I agree totally with that.
I think I think for me, the message that I try to give to people when they come to my show is, without hitting them over the head, is we don't need boxes that define gender. We don't need boxes that define class. We don't need boxes that define what is right thinking or wrong thinking. What we need is love. Gosh, I hate to say it, but
no, don't hate to say it. I totally agree with you.
Is that woo-woo enough for you?
That's almost woo-woo enough for me.
I love it. Donna, a call to action. Name one small step that you will take this month, or let's say next month, now that this month is ending, to strengthen your legacy. And one resource that listeners can use today in terms of preserving their own legacies.
Sure. Well, for me, it all goes back to my book and having the opportunity to tell my story about my life from Jamaica, West Indies, as a very poor young girl to the boardrooms of Wall Street, and how I was able to kind of make that transition with perseverance and resilience. So it goes back to the book and telling my story and having the opportunity. After my story came out, I did a few television shows and podcasts, what have you. And I received so many messages from women and men who were going through similar terrible situations and found inspiration in my story. So what I will continue to do as I build my keynote business, or I'm also an ICF coach, I'm a SAG actor, anything that I can do that gives me the opportunity to show that, you know, your legacy is not just about achievements or material possessions. It's really about the values we instill and the relationships we build and the positive impact we have on others. And so what I continue to do is reach out to event planners and reach out to organizations that's all about empowerment, and how I can add my voice to this, and how I can share my story and continue to uplift. So that's really what I do. I go back to the book, and I go back to this song that I just wrote, which is a love story to the younger version of myself who have been through so much, to tell her that she's okay. And that's the message I want to convey and continue to convey for as long as I can.
And by the way, everyone, read the book. It's a page turner. It's just amazing what you went through and came out on the other side. I won't say unscathed, because those scars are there somewhere, but just an amazing. Goldie, I want to ask you, you have visited Anthony Newley before with your incredible Brickus show that you did, Newley and Brickus years ago with James Beeman. This show that you're doing with Anthony Newley, and can I announce the next show, or would you rather I didn't?
For next spring?
Yes.
Yes, sure.
Okay, she has a show that's, well, you tell them, because you're celebrating one of our greatest female songwriters.
Yes. So we are doing a songbook show based on the lyrics of Dorothy Fields. The show will be called The Rhythm of Life. And going back to what everyone has been discussing, when I choose a show to do, it all depends on what I feel I need to say at that particular moment, what I need to share, what is on my mind. So certain shows have been very personal from that point of view. With the Newley show, it was based upon the fact of our connection with him. And again, storytelling, telling the stories in a very personal way, but yet universal. And I feel that's always very important, especially in cabaret, because you can do anything in cabaret as long as you are authentic, as long as the shows that I enjoy the most, yes, tell me your stories. Let's share those stories. I want to feel like I know something more about you at the end of the show than I did at the beginning. And so with the Dorothy Fields show, so many of her, this is more of I feel like it's a songbook show rather than a tribute show, because for me, it's more about the songs and the connections, the personal songs, why I want to sing these songs. And again, the only thing we have is our uniqueness, who we are, but we all have a uniqueness. And it's never about, oh, watch what I'm doing. It's about, come, let's share this experience. Let's go on this ride together. Let's, have this time together. And so that's what I want to explore. What we are exploring in choosing the songs for this show. It always comes back to the storytelling, the why, the who, what are we sharing tonight? And so yes, that's slated for the spring. For May, there's more information to come on that. So that's a little tease. But as I was listening to everyone else, what I did want to also, getting back to sort of legacy and younger people, Richard, as you know, we do a series called Sneak Peek. It's every other month at Don't Tell Mama, and it's a different theme every show. And in this show, we invite, depending upon the theme, artists to come and perform their work. But we also have a little chat with them when they're on stage and talk about their creative process. We want to share with the audience, give them a peek behind the curtain into that creative process. And it's different for everyone. And so that has been a big part of, like Susie does on her show, I try to mix it up and have well-established people that are sort of a little new on the block, and different age groups, because again, it's all about sharing and continuing this art form which is so unique. And Tessa, I feel, and tell me you guys if you agree, I feel there has already been a huge resurgence in cabaret here in New York, especially since COVID, since we're all back. I think one of the good things about that period, it made us all appreciate community and being together and the ability to do. Everyone is doing shows. The clubs are so busy now here, and it's wonderful. Yeah, and I do see that happening around the country as well. And it is because I feel this art form of cabaret, it is personal. It's between, us and the audience. It's always that interplay. They're your scene partner. And so that does not happen in theater. In theater, we're an observer. There is the fourth wall. Yes, we can still be affected by what we see on stage, but it's not necessarily that one-on-one connection. So
That's great. Yeah, I agree with you.
I
Totally.
answered the question or not, but
No, you did. You did. And by the way, sneak peek October 8th.
Yes, that's it. And our theme, we're inviting the directors, the major, not musical directors, the major directors in cabaret to come on and now be on stage. So we're calling it Turning the Tables.
Oh, I like that.
You turn the tables on me. Yes. We have quite a list of people that will be there. So yes.
That's great. Brian, I want to talk to you about preservation. With your past and bringing it together with your present.
I'm so glad you're not talking about a facelift.
Well, we can talk about that too if you'd like to, but you don't obviously need it. And how do you manage to keep the two going in terms of the work that you do?
Wow, I can honestly tell you, I'm not sure. I like my grandmother said, I wake up in the morning, I put both feet on the floor, I go to the bathroom, and I start my life. There's a lot to be said for having a great Jewish Bubba. I think, well, right now, it's like when I get an idea or I get an inspiration, I now follow it. And I've noticed that I always go through this period of doubt, like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I don't know if I can do this. But I also have noticed, and I'm going to, beat my chest and be proud about this. I have this really unique ability to attract unbelievably great people into my life to help. And once I was able to accept that help from Michael Orland, from director Lee Martino, from Celeste Simone, who's how I met you, Richard. And I performed with Celeste 100 years ago. All right, maybe only 40. But I try and follow those inspirations. So recently, I started a Substack, which people can find at peacefulbri.substack.com. And every Sunday night, I write something. And this Sunday night was about change. And I made it very personal, Goldie, because my gym cut out the Pilates classes that I depended on. And what I did was I looked at that and I extrapolated it to a much larger thing about how one can handle change, but not me telling you how to handle change, telling you how I'm handling change. And also I did one on gratitude, that gratitude wasn't complete unless the person said, you're welcome. I'm paraphrasing, that it was a loop. So I try to follow those inspirations. I listen, which I never did when I was younger because I thought I knew everything. But I listen. And Lee Martino said to me she said, you can take your show to New York, you can take it to San Francisco, people will love it, but I think you've run your course here in Los Angeles, it's time for a new show. And I was like, I agonized over it for 3 days, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to let God deliver what that new show should be and let the universe work it. And I was looking for a mid-century modern clock online, and it hit me that all the kids on TikTok are playing mid-century modern hits from the late 50s and the early 60s, that the generation after mine is interested in the nostalgia, and the generation after them is interested in the clean lines. And then I always loved Jerry Lewis and the Nutty Professor and his song, We've Got a World That Swings. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do 1955 through 1965. I'm going to put the personal stories in there because I left Stephen Eady out. I left Stan Kenton out. I left a
How
lot
can
of
you leave Stephen Eady out?
Right?
Yeah, my mom, they were a fearless foursome, my mom and dad. But also how tourists went out to Las Vegas, to the middle of the desert to watch nuclear tests and got showered with radiation. And then again, where we all were when JFK was shot. And then the music. I just asked Kim Schroeder-Long, Richard, you must meet her. She is an enormous talent. But I said to her, listen, I want you to come and be my guest star and do a bossa nova medley with me because that is the essence for me. And she said, and it is for me too. So she'll come in and do some Rosemary Clooney and some bossa nova. But once I got the inspiration, then I started to get excited about it. And then all the pieces started to be put into place. And the one lesson I have learned over my life is there is a timing to when you share your vision and who you share it with. Mm-hmm. Because it could so easily be crushed. And I'm a double Pisces. Just, look at me the wrong way and I fall apart. So to treasure this and to know that this is a gift I want to offer and to give it the time it needs to put itself together. But you asked how I put the present and the past together. I just follow the inspiration.
Interesting.
The past is the past. I cannot change it. Mm-hmm. I can learn from it. I can take from the worst of circumstances. I can take the best of lessons away from it. I will leave you with this. I've lost my entire family. I have no family left except my partner, Andrew. My immediate cousins are gone. The last of them last summer. My sister, my father, my mother. There's no one. And I was saying to the therapist, I find myself thinking about different things at different times and wanting to listen to the music. And I don't want to get stuck in the past. I watched my dad get stuck in the past. I watched people get stuck in nostalgia. And I just want to keep moving forward. To which he said, I have never known you not to move forward. I'm going to cry. But why wouldn't you want to go back there? Because that's where your family is. And that made it okay to hold the past and not try and get over it or dismiss it or analyze it or figure it out, but just to hold it. To say, oh my God, I'm picking a melon. My mother taught me how to pick a cantaloupe. Isn't it great?
That's incredible. Thank you. And I'm going to give each of you a chance to have a final word in just a moment. But Marty, before we get there, whose shoulders are you standing on? And how do you celebrate them in your work?
Oh, wow. What a question. Can I do one of the other ones? So many people. I hesitate to even name names. I went to a party a couple of nights ago with some cabaret community friends. And there was someone at the party who is very new to this world. And this person asked me, well, what group are you in? And I said, what do you mean, what group? Well, are you a Lenny Watts person? Are you a Gretchen Reinhagen person? Are you a Richard Skipper person? She didn't say your name, but who's your group that you align with? And I said, I'm not in any group, but I'm in all of them. Mm-hmm. I didn't take any of those classes. I came into this community late in my 50s after, like I said, the stuff that we were doing fell out of fashion. And it is true, as my husband always says, whatever is going to be the next best thing, the next big thing is whatever is the least cool thing right now. So I'm hoping it's me.
Well, you already are there for me.
Well, but the kind of music that we do, singing and playing standards in fancy cocktail bars, that is so out that I hope it's going to be the next thing. But my point is that I have learned, I've only been in this little New York cabaret community since 2017. And Sean Patrick Murtaugh is the person that helped me sort of find my way in as a person who was not young and had already worked a lot. So you know what? I guess I would have to name him. I always call him my life coach. He's 18 years younger than me, and he's my life coach. he comes from a functional family, which is something that I have no experience of. And so some things that were very, very hard for me about interacting with people, some of whom are going to be competitive with you, some of whom are going to jockey for position with you. All of that made me very, very uncomfortable. Sean comes from a long line of happy people who are also very spiritual. And he taught me a way of being myself, not sacrificing any of who I am, but being calm and accepting and leading with, as Brian was just saying, listening to the person that I'm talking to, whoever it is, instead of thinking, how am I going to get through this big Mac Christmas party with all of these people? And who am I going to be? How about I just go and listen to each person that comes up to me? So isn't it funny? I'm standing on the shoulders of someone almost young enough to be my kid.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
but,
those are great shoulders to stand on, though.
Your mentors come to you, your teachers come to you when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But you also have to be ready for it to be somebody that you would never expect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I bow to all of you. I'm going to give each of you a chance to have your final word. I'm going to go first, and then I will pick the next person. And then you will pick the next person. When the last person says goodbye, I will end the show. So you don't have to worry about how do I get out of here. I'll take care of it. I also want to thank everyone who's watching, whether you're watching live now or you're watching on the replay. Please leave a comment about the show. Please share this if you did indeed get something out of it, and let people know about this. I'm going to give each of you a chance to have your final word about anything we spoke about today that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message you want to leave everyone with. And I'd like to add one more element to that. I'd like you all to mention something that inspired you in the last week, whether it be a book, a TV show, a movie, a song, an event, whatever it may be, just something that inspired you in the last week. I'm leading a book group, and I'll start with this, and it's called the Let Them Theory, and it has changed my life in terms of how I am dealing with people, how I'm dealing with situations. We have no control over what's going on in the world, but what we do have control over is how we respond to it. And there's a difference between responding and reacting. Think about that. And I'll leave that as my legacy for all of you this week. But I end all of my shows with the same message. Go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. When you go on your devices again, the fifth name today that pops up, reach out to that person with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, a phone call. And just simply say, I want you to know I'm thinking of you and you matter in my life. And by doing so, you're going to make a difference in their lives. Trust me. All of my friends that follow my thinking on this report back to me with incredible stories. I end all of my shows with the same message. For my dear friend, Sean Moniger, we're all in the same storm, but we're in different sized boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And with that, I'm going to sign off. And Tessa, I'm turning it over to you. And when you finish, you'll pick the next person. I love you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Oh, how wonderful. Somebody mentioned that book to me just 2 days ago. And then I saw you shaking. So obviously that's a book that's on my list of books to read. Something that I'm reading right now that I find fascinating is a book by Lynn McTaggart, who's a journalist very fascinated with quantum theory and the holographic universe theory of the way we actually create and manifest in the world. And so I highly recommend not only the book I'm reading, but all of her books are just mind blowing. And Brian, you're in Los Angeles, I think. Is that correct? And
Yes.
so am I. And so I do hope we can get together because you are.
It would be my pleasure. Let's do it.
Good. Let's do that.
Richard's all about the people he connects.
It's like for real, like, yeah. And ladies, it was wonderful to see all of you and talk with all of you. And I do have a plan to move back to Los Angeles and do that cabaret thing again. So hopefully I will see you all sometime in the future. Otherwise, have a wonderful Labor Day weekend.
Thank you.
Now I have to figure out how to get out of here.
You have to pick someone.
You have to pick
Oh, I
someone.
have to pick someone. Oh, Goldie, you take it away.
Okay, thank you, Tessa. Okay, so something, Brian, the three sublines that you have under the title of your book, The Past, the Present, the Future,
Yep.
That is the way I choose to live my life as well. I connect with that. I feel that, I have this little saying, every day we wake up to bitch about something, it's a good day.
You and my Bubba would have gotten along well.
Oh, of course. I agree. The past is something that it's our heritage. It's as long as we learn something from it in a positive way, even the worst experiences, nothing is wasted. It's all useful. It's who we are. That is who we become, the experiences we go through. We just can't live our life trying to change the past or worry about the present or the future. We worry about the future. We have to live in the moment. And part of that for me is understanding and believing that life holds possibilities. I believe that every day you wake, there is the possibility of what that day will bring, and that will then start to develop where your life is going. But you must be open to possibilities. You must believe that they're there. You must, as you were saying, Marty, you must be ready for them. You must seek them out and know that they will come to you, but be ready for them when they come. It's like, for me, it's always listening to that little voice in my head, in my gut. And I'm saying, oh, I don't know. If anyone had told me even 6 months ago that I would be doing our Anthony Newley show at Crazy Cox next week, it's September 8th. I would not have necessarily believed it was going to happen. And yet here we are, and it is happening. And it's going to be a wonderful experience all the way around. It's my first time in London at all. So,
oh, wow.
Yes, talk about possibilities. I can't wait to see what this trip and what these days and meeting friends over there, what this will bring, and whether and to be able to bring back and share. And so, yes, possibility is very important. Having a passion in life, whether it's a hobby or just something that brings you joy, something that allows you to keep exploring what life has to offer, keeps you young, keeps you involved in life, keeps you giving back to other people. I always think of it as, in the airplane, you put your mask on first before you put your child's mask on. We have to try to be full, healthy people within ourselves before we can then share that with others and try to, by example or conversation, whatever, just leave positive things, leave those little breadcrumbs. So that it all ties into everything we've been talking about. And as far as inspiration, I know this is going to sound like stupid because we're on Richard's show, but Marty, you were at Richard's show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I found that particularly inspiring. I found Richard particularly inspiring because in this show, Richard does what he does best. He is having a constant back and forth communication with the audience. He is so fast on his feet. His memory alone boggles my mind how he remembers all these people and things and stories. But that show was so joyful, every moment of it. And I'm not necessarily in an easy audience. You know, I see a lot. I perform. Half of my brain wants to be the audience being entertained, but the other half is always watching the work. And Richard really took me out of myself, and there was just so much joy and love in that room, and it was genuine, it was honest, it was spontaneous, and that really inspired me as a person, as a performer, to always want to connect with that part in my soul as well. So that is most recently what came to mind when he asked me about inspiration. And I wish all of you a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Relax, enjoy. And I will turn it back to Donna. Go for it, girl.
Yes, well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure meeting you guys. But but for me, I just wake up every day and I look. Each day is a brand new gift. It's a brand new gift to open. As we talked about, stuff happens, life happens, as they say, lifes. Things happen in our lives. And I am just so incredibly grateful that at 63 years old, I have all these opportunities to connect with people and to inspire and to motivate. And I love doing cabaret shows. I love doing TV. I love doing all the things. And I consider myself so blessed and so honored for the opportunities. A book that I've read and I continue to refer to, it's called You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. I don't know if anyone's ever read it, but that's like what I love it whenever I feel as if I just kind of want to check in. I want someone to kind of tell me that I matter, feel like I matter, just the way she presents, just the way she connects with her readers is just amazing. So I'm incredibly grateful to meet you guys in this forum and wish you an amazing weekend. And it was certainly an honor to share this time and this space with you guys. So take good care. Okay, bye. Bye.
You had to pick?
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, all I'm going to say is have fun. I do believe that everyone is inherently resilient. I just believe that is in there. It's built in there, and sometimes you have to get to it. Someone else leads you to it. And the thing that's inspired me this week is my puppy, because every morning she wakes up and she is very energetic and very happy to greet the day. She's filled with love and filled with kisses. And it's like, yeah, you can start the day that way too. So I pick you, Marty.
Oh, okay. I got picked last again. Richard asked me, whose shoulders are you standing on? And I talked about my best friend, Sean, but I should also talk about my other best friend, who's my husband, Michael Guerin, because without him, I would not be sitting here right now. We met 20 years ago, and we were both very, very different people. We were both sort of circling the drain of life. We had been through a lot of bad times, some of our own making, some of our own choosing. And when we got together, we realized that we wanted to be together and that we wanted to be better people for each other. I wish that for everybody, that you have someone in your life who makes you want to be the best version of you that you can be. And even in this past week, when there was just, current events things and also interpersonal things and business things going on, and my husband sat me down and said, I'm going to give you a pep talk. And, part of the things that he says to me are things like, you're a star. Don't let those insects bother you. And sometimes that's what you need to hear. But sometimes what I need to hear is one of my favorite things that he says, which is, it's a blessing to be in the happy business. Because sometimes it feels like being an entertainer, a musician, or a writer, we're not contributing to what's going on in the world because we're living in scary times. But what we're doing is more important than ever. Every connection that we make with another person is a reminder of what we're fighting for in the greater sense. Because as I think Brian said, Well, I think almost everybody said this. I know Goldie did too. All we really have is each other. All we've got is other people and the connections that we make. So thank you, Richard, for making these connections today. And keep making them through our art. Have a great Labor Day weekend.